story this week. In New York, a father who was involved in a child custody dispute threw his 3-year-old son and himself off a 52-story high Manhattan roof. In Arizona, the governor's task force has assigned 3,104 of the 6,500 uninvestigated abuse reports that the state is going nutty over to overworked CPS agents, and now they're blaming all kinds of social problems for the mess, including crime, jails, and the schools not teaching parenting skills for the backlog. In Kentucky, the child protective industry is fined $756,000 for willfully withholding records that were supposed to be given to the newspapers per court order. In Maine, the state is holding a set of public hearings to solicit opinions in regards to people's experience with the state's family court system. The U.S. Justice Department is calling for examples of outrageous child custody outcomes. And in California, the LA Times is calling for a dramatic overhaul of the state's privatized child welfare system. In depth this week, the Massachusetts child protective industry is in turmoil over its handling of abuse allegations after a kid disappeared several months ago while under the watchful eye of CPS agents, with legislative officials calling for a top-to-bottom review of the agency, and a social worker being blamed for not making the required monthly visits to the kid. Governor Deval Patrick says that the state's first order of business is to find the kid. The social workers union is blaming the system, saying that social workers are overworked and not underperforming. Meanwhile, Cardinal Sean P. O'Malley is going off against the failures in the Massachusetts foster care system. Of course, DCF is just tap dancing around all of the issues, and the Massachusetts child protective industry is keeping a secret list of all the people who they suspect to be child abusers, which is completely unavailable from police and schools. A bill in Congress is apparently being welcomed with open arms by both parties that is aimed at boosting international adoptions of children in light of the Russian adoption ban and other programs aimed at stopping child trafficking. In North Carolina, a report in Union County says that the child protective industry mishandled cases, including one where a kid was found handcuffed to his foster parents' front porch with a dead chicken tied around his neck. In Ohio, Highland County has managed to double its foster care expenses over the last year. And in New York, the mayor-elect's pick for heading up the city's child welfare agency allegedly once allowed an X-rated party for juvenile inmates as part of her therapeutic approach to rehabilitating violent thugs. In Nigeria, a gynecologist suggests that foster mothers who intend to breastfeed other people's kids should be screened for HIV and hepatitis. In Argentina, a court rules that a 14-year-old girl who was raped can have an abortion. And in India, a man who was on his deathbed finally gets permission from the court to visit his son. In Canada, a foster mother of a baby who died while in her care is denying any wrongdoing and suing the real parents for slander and defamation of character for suggesting that she did. And in England, social workers are snatching fat kids from their parents because they feared that overfeeding kids was wrecking their health. In Michigan, a foster parent was arrested and charged with 4 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct involving a child. In Florida, a real mother said that she had Christmas gifts in her car for her daughter, then snatches the kid back from CPS during a supervised visit and takes off like a bat out of hell. In Michigan, a judge is fighting a ruling against her excessive intervention into the case where a kid was mistakenly given a Mike's Hard Lemonade at a Detroit Tigers baseball game and thrown into foster care because of it. In Missouri, the state Supreme Court refuses to hear a challenge to the adoption of a Guatemalan child who was taken away from his mother because she was an illegal immigrant. New York State troopers raised money for Christmas presents for a girl who had her teeth pulled out by a foster parent. And finally, tonight in California, a judge dismisses all of the CPS agents involved with a particular disputed case, demanding a fresh investigation from uninvolved workers and granting temporary custody of the kid back to the mother. For these stories and all the latest dirt on the child protective industry, visit www.legallykidnapped.com. And until next week, this is Baby LK, over and out.